traits which are required or which are necessary, A, to get noticed by your management where you're already working as an in-house counsel, and B, to actually secure the position as an in-house counsel. In both the cases, these traits can become useful. So we'll have a look at all of these things as we progress along the webinar. But first, let's have a look at the basic objective for the webinar, if I said, is exactly this, that how do you get noticed without having to indulge in the likes of organization politics? Because often what happens is the way people use to get, to the eyes of the management, to get in the eyes of the management, to get recognized, is by using politics. But we don't want to do that. There are methods to actually reach out and actually shine out as a star in an organization without having to indulge into politics. So this is something what we'll get into. And this webinar, as I just mentioned, is kind of focused on if you are an in-house counsel, if you're working as an in-house counsel in an organization, or if you're looking to become an in-house counsel in an organization, or even if you are a consultant to the in-house counsel. Okay, because if you are aware of what are the kind of objectives the in-house counsel is looking to progress with as a consultant, chances are you are going to be able to help them achieve the objectives. And when as a consultant you are able to help somebody inside the organization achieve the objectives they are looking for, then your value as a consultant instantly increases, right? So that is something that, as a consultant, people can definitely use when you come to know that what is it that the in-house counsel should actually be employing. Okay, what are the strategies he should be employing? Okay, but before we get into, the methods and everything, I would really like to know what people here, the crowd here are indulged in. So are any of you, I'd like to hear from some of you, if you are in-house counsels, or if you are looking to become an in-house counsel, are you a consultant to in-house counsels? So I would like to hear from some of you. Can we have Mitali? Mitali is already unmuted herself. Mitali, would you like to share?
Hi.
Hi.
I want to become a counsel.
Okay.
Yet I'm just starting in my internships.
Right. But you want to...
I argued my one personal case, and I achieved success in that in the district court. So that has given me more motivation and encouragement to become a counsel.
Right. What is your name?
Like the ropes of more and the tactic and details about the being a counsel.
Right. May I know your name, please?
Meher.
Meher. Hi, Meher. Hi. Okay, great. So Meher is looking to become an in-house counsel, and I can tell you that can be a step more difficult than when you are looking to actually, start up your own practice. Because when you're starting up, you do not have any specific kind of, expectations, because you know that there's going to take a period of time till you reach a specific level of income. Okay, but while you are looking to get as an in-house counsel, particularly if you're moving from one role to another, okay, or if you're taking up a specific designation in an organization, it's not like you're going to start up from anything. Okay, for example, if I'm a practicing consultant, I can say that fine, I will draft a notice for 5,000 right now. Okay, I can increase my fees as I go along, as I have better clients, everything. But I'll start drafting a notice or something for 5,000. Okay, I will do that if I am practicing, or if I am working on my own. While if you're working as a counsel, now if at a certain level you're not going to say that fine, I'm okay with a salary of, let's say, 10,000 bucks or 12,000 bucks. People face this as a problem, because what will happen is once you take up a job, you are going to be handed over a lot of responsibilities. It's not like that people will be paying you for nothing. Okay, you will be given a lot of responsibilities to take off. So therefore, when you are actually working or moving into a job as an in-house counsel, you have to be very mindful that the package for that role is commensurate with the kind of responsibilities that are going to be handed over to you. So in that, you can't start with anything like a minimum, like how you can do when you're looking for consultant kind of roles. So that is one thing that can make things a little bit difficult. So you have to be very careful how you manage that, or how you negotiate, or how you get into that domain, right? Okay.
Right.
So anyone else who wants to share, someone who's already an in-house counsel and wants to share, you don't have to disclose your workplace, but like if you can just share some experiences. Anyone else other than Meher?
Uh, Ma'am, I'm Venkatramaya.
Hi, Venkat.
Yeah, I work for big companies,
Right.
corporations, I would say, private corporations.
Right.
And then I had my own business.
Right.
I'm a technical person, basically.
Right.
But during my service, I have come across many legal issues and worked closely with the legal department. And
Right.
now I have tapered off my business and I'm working as a consultant or advisor to
Right.
technical startups.
Right.
I noticed that they have a lot of documentation done for them by
Right.
some lawyers, but they cannot afford big lawyers. And that document is basically cut, copy, paste situation, and they got into problem.
Right.
So I started vetting those things. I started correcting it based on the knowledge I got interacting with legal personnel. And
Yeah.
so from then onwards, I started drafting, and it has helped uh, the organizations from saving themselves from some pitfalls. So
Right.
that's how I took up this business law diploma. So I thought, let me
Right.
have some more backing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They have a lot of problems, and most of the time they never go to a lawyer unless they are neck deep. And I think an in-house counsel can better advise them. These organizations do
Absolutely.
have company
Yes.
secretaries.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
on a this thing they have to have a CA and a company secretary, not on their roles, but because they have to sign certain documents and all.
Yeah.
So they do,
Yeah.
but they don't advise. And so these people started relying on me for the legal thing also, though I always give them the caveat that, look, I'm not a full-fledged lawyer, but I'm able to. And so I think uh, the knowledge related to uh, business laws, particularly for the small,
Yeah.
medium, and
Yeah.
startups, is very essential than
Yeah.
companies law per se.
Yeah.
This is what I want to
Yeah.
say.
Of course. Of course. Thank you so much for sharing, Venkat. And Venkat, everyone is a student of our course on diploma in business laws for in-house counsels. Now, that is a very targeted course. It is actually aimed at, like it at discussing about the all-round areas which in-house counsels have to deal with. But we'll talk about that later. Right now, we're gonna talk about, if you are an in-house counsel, how can you get in the eyes of the management, or if you're looking to get into in-house counsels roles, how you can do that, or if you are looking to be a consultant. And as Venkat mentioned, I have seen numerous consultants who are actually able to recommend to the companies that, look, now you need an in-house counsel, you have this much level of work that you need an in-house counsel. The consultant has that much of a reliability before the management, that they are able to make this recommendation to the management, and they are even able to recommend people, okay, who will be suitable for that particular company. So the consultant, having this kind of, uh, of 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 an importance before the management, or this kind of a say in the working of the company, this kind of an influence is very, it's not that easy to gain, but like you can do that as well. Okay, and when you are advising in-house counsels as a consultant, if you have that kind of a reliability before them, they will take your advice for that. So this is for consultants who are also looking to advise the management as well, advise in-house counsels on how to work out as well. So thank you, Venkat, so much for sharing that. Now, when we, because we've already dealt with now who this webinar is for, if I progress a little bit further and if I talk about, what are the things, or what are the issues, or what are the things that, in-house counsels have to go through. Okay. So what will happen is in-house counsels often, and particularly when you have been in a really huge organization. Okay, if you're working with a really huge organization, the problem that you will face is that it will be a very complicated structure to digest. There will be multiple departments whom you need to coordinate with. There are very organized processes that you need to follow, so that for each step that you take, okay, each particular action that you take, you have to go through a filter of procedure and processes. This is what happens in really large sized companies. I can tell you that because I had this bewildering experience when I moved from a relatively smaller bank, although it was also in two countries, but relatively smaller bank, to Citibank, okay, which was at Citibank, which was the hub for all European activities. Okay, so I moved in that organization. It was gigantic. Like there were enormous number of departments. You had established processes, or you were supposed to establish processes for everything. Either one of that. So you cannot operate without a specific system being followed. Okay, that is how really large organizations are. Okay, where you have to coordinate with everyone. At a point of time you can feel really stifled, because you were able to take actions very fast at certain point of time, but now you need to follow those systems and processes which are clearly laid down by that organization. If that is not the case, if you are an in-house counsel with a medium sized entity, let us say, because if you go for a real startup, as Venkat just mentioned, they probably do not have in-house legal personnel. Okay, so startups will not have in-house legal personnel, but this is what, where you can make a use case of you being required. Okay, and where can you make a use case of you being required? We will deal with when we talk about the different steps. Even for a startup, you can secure the role of being an in-house counsel. How? We're going to talk about, like in the later part of the webinar. But right now what we are kind of looking at is that this is what people can face when they are working in an in-house role. Now if you're working in a medium sized entity or a relatively smaller size entity, where you will face the struggle is that you will be the be all end all for a multitude of things. Okay, if I give you an example of myself, like I was working in the legal and company secretarial department uh, of a company which was spread across the world, somewhere in 19 countries, and we were centralizing everything there. But even then, if you look at, like I was kind of the hub for a lot of different kinds of things. It was also for their their company law compliances across the world. It was also for their ESOP related compliances, and their employees were again across the world who had been granted ESOPs were also across the world. I would also have to coordinate with the HR for some sort of employment related agreements. I would also have to coordinate with legal for some kind of power of attorneys that they would like, have across the world for people working in specific departments. I would have to coordinate for, the agreements, derivative agreements they used to enter into. And all of these was like, spread at an international level. So there can be a multitude of areas which, you would have to look at, which can exhaust you, because there is some sort of accuracy or, knowledge required to be able to deal with all of these areas, right? So it's not like, when you come out of the law school, or even when you have gone through, like, say, a few internships or something, that's sufficient skill for you to be able to deliver on all of this multitude kind of fronts. Okay, so this is what you will be faced. You may have to deal with a lot of different areas, and you cannot at that point of time say that, this is not something that, I have dealt with, or I'm not comfortable with, or I can't work with, or something. You have to, like, look up, step up, and, do something about it. Okay, because you will be given that responsibility. Okay, you have to coordinate with everyone, so in the department. So you have to, like, coordinate with business related departments. You have to coordinate with HR. You have to coordinate with the finance department, right, everywhere. So you have to be speaking, and you have to be managing relationships throughout the organization. That is also something that can become, that is not really easy to pick up, right? Because you may face situations that, okay, look, I have to track where this person is moving, I have to track where this person is moving, I have to track where this person is moving as well, on top of, having track of my own work. So that is something that can also be required. And then what will happen is that, because there are so much of multitude of fronts, chances are you can land an error somewhere. It's not impossible, I'll tell you that. You can land up an error somewhere in the beginning, okay? Or you can be, doing an average job on all the fronts, but nothing that is superlative enough to gain the attention of the management. And it doesn't seem enough. Like, it seems like you're doing so many things, but you are never getting the kind of attention from the management that, you were looking for, although you are handling, or, fighting on so many fronts. This is the kind of feeling that you can actually get when you are working inside organizations, either, even if it's large, even if it's small, it's medium sized, any sized organization. This is something that, you are likely to face and land up. Okay, now I want to know how many of you have experienced this kind of thing, that I'm looking, and I'm working on multitude of fronts, but I don't get any appreciation, or my efforts don't get recognized. How many of you have gone through this phase or faced this? I'm doing so much work, but I'm not recognized. Anyone has faced this? And we can go into why that happens as well. But I want to know if anyone is in this space, where you have this, that you are handling a multitude of tasks, and yet there isn't enough recognition. Definitely from the management, there isn't recognition. Anyone has faced this?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, Gotcha.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
I have I have worked in many organizations in HR, or I am low graduates. That's why I deal with some legal issue also.
Right.
Yeah. You are saying that I feel such type of feeling in previous organization. Other department are not supporting to us, and when we talk about legal issue, there doesn't no depth of legality of any issue. They take casual of such type of issue. And this is my experience also that I mentioned here. Number one. Secondly, I have 35-year experience in HR in many organizations. Now, this is my personal question. I want to start my legal counseling as an internal or consultancy. So what
Right.
tips I have to keep in my mind to
Yeah.
start my independent consultancy of HR and legal consultancy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
We will deal with that. So see, basically this is coming for even when you are dealing with other departments also, even when you are dealing with, let's say, your board of directors, even where you are dealing with, management who is one level below the board, like the CEO, CFO, all of these people's level. So what are they looking for? Okay, and why, despite delivering on so many fronts, your efforts do not get recognized or don't gain the kind of attention that you would expect it to be. We're going to be talking about that, but the first thing that I want to say, or I want to discuss, is that where do you want to reach from this? Now we realize that right now this is what is happening. Like, we have difficulty coordinating with departments, we have difficulty having that multiple level of skill that is expected for us, we have difficulty in really getting recognition for our efforts. If it's a really huge organization, we have difficulty in keeping track of the processes and the systems that it's facing. So let's think of, where do we want to land up, okay, or where exactly do we want to end? What is our ideal destination? Okay, so the destination will be something like this, that you are appreciated and acknowledged by the management. Let us say you get a few raises or promotions in terms of money, or you get some kind of recognition or awards. Okay, you get handed over greater responsibilities, so you work your way and step up in the structure. This is what you are looking for at the end. Okay, that is one of the things that I want to fix, because if we have a destination, if we have an end in mind, then we know how to go about it, or we can think about it. Okay, so definitely when you are in that feeling, when you are in that zone where the management really appreciates your work, they value you, okay, and they want you to be with an organization. Okay, so if you want to be in that zone, okay, then that is something that you have to look or plan it as a destination, that this is where I want to land. Okay, so this is what, if we engage in these 4 or 5 transition steps. Okay, so naturally, like, let's say from here, you are at a certain place and you want to land at another destination, you will plan, right? You will plan on what is the journey, how do you need to undertake that journey, how do you need to change, let's say transport modes, what are the kind of things you need to carry, everything you will plan. Okay, but you can do that when your destination is decided. So this is where we want to land. We want to land in a situation where the efforts are recognized, where we are getting, let's say, promotions, where we are getting a higher salary, where our work is being valued by the management, where we get increased responsibilities. Okay, or where people who are looking to get into an in-house counsel roles, that exactly is the destination. They want to get into an in-house counsel role, right? So that's the destination or we are looking for. Okay, so once we have the destination fixed, then we can plan on the steps, or we can plan on what we need to do in order to reach there. If I give you like my example, and I can state this because I have gone through and I've worked in organizations of multiple different sizes and multiple different kind of policies, right? I've worked in, like I said, Citibank, and all these are huge. It was a gigantic organization. I have worked with organizations which have been extremely flat, like the hierarchy was kind of more or less not existent, like India Infoline. And I've worked in an organization which really progresses through the hierarchy. You have to follow the systems and processes if you want to work in them, like JP Morgan. So, like, I have been in all of these kinds of different roles, and I have had one day where Citibank and Northern Trust, were both willing to get me, and I was in a position to choose which one I want to go through. So, like, this is something that, I have experienced throughout my career, where I have been with organizations where, gotten into the heart or into the skin of how these organizations functions. And I've worked with multitude of different, people who were in-house legal counsels, right from my training days to where I was working as a deputy company secretary in DEPFA. So like I have worked with a lot of in-house legal counsels. I've worked with senior professionals who were both like in-house legal counsels plus named company secretaries. So this is again another situation which you will face sometimes in organizations, that people hold both the degrees. So you will have someone who's an in-house counsel as well as a named company secretary. That's the concept that you will have. Okay, there can be people working under him who are actually doing, the secretarial and legal work. But this is the guy who will be named on the organization's master data in MCA, or this will the person who will be named or written as everywhere as the company secretary for the organization. So they are performing a dual role, in-house counsel as well as CS. Okay, so I've worked with people who have been in these roles, and I've seen what they go through, what are the kind of work that they actually get to do, what is it that really, really, really increases their view in front of, the management, works it up. What are the issues that they have faced? I've gone through and I've been with them. I've myself been in the role of a legal and compliance officer of an entity who just ventured out or started into India, right? So like I have a sense of how organizations and internal departments work. Okay, so that's just a brief way, and I can kind of, from this, where having worked with these people, I can kind of share some insights into what they were really, really looking for. Okay, what the management was looking for at each point of time, if you were supporting the in-house legal counsel. Because when you get into, like, a large organization, for instance, you may not definitely, you may not, directly be an in-house counsel, but you may be supporting the in-house counsel. Then what is it that they are looking to deliver to the management? Okay, so that is something that we can get and we can discuss about. And, like, if we look at, there are two ways to do these kinds of things. Organizations and organization structures particularly uh, are prone to having organization politics, right? That is not something you want to employ or use in order to make your way through the corporate ladder. Okay, because you don't need to do that. Okay, it's as simple as that. So that is the old way, where people will kind of put up a show that, look, I am working for really long, and this is what I have to do. They'll sit up for like crazy hours, and in the middle actually do really very effectively not uh, enough work or sufficient work or deliver up to it. That's the old way. Like, you deploy show business, you deploy politics. But at the end of the day, what happens is that somewhere down the line, you're going to get exposed. Okay, so that's why definitely it's not a recommended way to make your way or progress through the ladder or get an entry into the organization. That's not the recommended way. The new way is really to get smart at what the management really intends to get. Okay, and understand what is the objective with which this organization functions. Okay, understand where this organization as a whole wants to land up. Okay, and what is the management's mindset about this. Okay, to understand, so perform smart work, not just like deliver here lots of different things. Do your job in all of different areas, and just expect that you are recognized. Okay, the idea is to get really smart work. That's the new way. And how do you do smart work? Okay, I have a question here from Harshal. What kind of preparation we should do in present situation like COVID-19? Because so many like me, new freshers to be in future as entry in corporate. Yeah, you want to do. So when you want to enter into a corporate, it's exactly the same thing as how you are looking to gain gain appreciation as if someone who's inside the organization. At the end of the day, the management goals or the management objectives are going to remain the same. Okay, it's not like it changes at a point when you are entering and it changes at the point when you are already inside the organizations. So the minute or the moment you get a hang of what is the objective of the management as a whole, what is the objective of this organization, okay, that's when you actually start to score with the management even for getting into the organization. Okay. Now when getting into the organization sometimes and often, in fact, large ones tend to pick up people by campus placements, right? But even in campus placements, what happens is that people at any point of time think, when you're getting into the organization, any point of time people think of what is the kind of research or what is the kind of depth you have gone into digging. What is the business of this organization, what it does, okay, what is its setup, how is it functioning, who are the people behind it, what is the in-depth research that you've done about this organization. And this inevitably scores with the management when you're looking to get into, because you have taken that effort to find out what business they really do, what are their objectives that they really want to achieve. And I can share this as a personal experience. When I was looking to get into one of the banks, okay, in a corporate governance role, okay, so I was looking at that bank on what is the structure that this bank actually deploys, okay, in terms of corporate governance, what are the mechanisms that they deploy. Okay, and I found out that a unique way that that organization was deploying or using was that they had set up committees directly under the CEO. Okay, usually you will have a main committee and then you will have business committees supporting that committee as a mechanism. What they had done was that the CEO was the one person, individual, and he had committees reporting to an individual. So that was a very peculiar governance structure which I had not seen. And this is what I found out by looking at, their annual reports, their structure throughout, the internet, wherever things were published, wherever things were there, written about them. All of those things I researched to found this out. And this is what I mentioned in the interview, that this is something that I have seen, that you deploy. And I find that this is really okay, I have to say that this is what got me the job, because they were very, very impressed that I had done this extent of digging on how the organization functions, what are its objectives. Okay, I had done this much digging on how the working happens to get their specific desired objectives, right? So this is something that is one thing that you cannot let go. So your step one is dig. If you want to get into the organization, dig deep into how it functions, dig deep into what are the objectives with which it operates. Okay, so that is something that is very important. If you want to score with the management, you have to find out what their objective is and how are they functioning, what are the mechanisms that they use to function. Okay, number one is that if you're inside the organization, again this is the same thing, because if you get aligned with the objectives which with which the organization is functioning, then you will think in terms of the solutions, not the problems. Okay, otherwise as lawyers what happens with us is, like, we are used to tell the management that this is the law and you are supposed to comply with that as the management, and if you don't comply, then these will be this much punishment as is prescribed in the act. This is what we do in most cases, isn't it? Okay, this is something that we do all the time, that we say that this is the law. Okay, now this is what you are supposed to comply with, and if we don't, then these are the penalties, 1 2 3 things that we can be subject to if we don't comply with this. Okay, but we never ever think of what is the transaction that they undertake, that they are looking at, okay, and try to get a hang of that from a different angle, okay, and try to see that where are they looking to land in terms of using this law. So it's not like this law became applicable to them out of the blue. Okay, they are engaged in a specific business. They are looking to obtain certain kinds of objectives. They are looking to reach a place. They are looking to enter into a specific transactions. That's how that law became applicable to them. Okay, so if you focus on that end, if you look at the objectives with which that organization is functioning, and think of how the goal can be achieved from here to there, exactly like how we are doing right now. Okay, so you look at how can they achieve this objective while being in compliance with the law. So you give them 2 3 different options of ways to reach that specific goal while being in compliance with the law. There is no management in the world that will not comply if they can achieve the goal anyway. Okay, so what happens is, people face always, I have faced this kind of questions that that managements are not bothered with compliance. They don't want to do anything. But then that is the approach that you have to take. Like, that is an objective, that there is one objective that they want to reach. If you are able to show them the way how to reach that specific objective while being in compliance with the law, they will take it. Okay, so but you have to take on that, you have to give them 2 3 different options. These are the 3 different ways in which you can go about that. These are the 3 ways which are perfectly legal. You can still achieve this objective that you were looking for, or maybe, like, some compromise, but, like, the cost of non-compliance, if you want to go beyond, can be higher. So if you put things like that, if you give them alternative solutions to reach where they are looking to reach, that is something that they will always take. Okay, and if you are, and this is what, like, you can deploy even as someone who's working inside the organization. Okay, because you're looking at, people will look at, if you are working in the legal department, they will look at you for, review or vetting of what are the kinds of things that can come in the way of this transaction or this product that we want to go ahead with. So you give them a few different options, that this is what you're looking to achieve. This is a product you're looking to release. This is, a transaction you're looking to undertake. There are 1 2 3 different ways to go about that. This is what I recommend. And this is something that I will own up and execute for you. That is step 2. And very, very important. The step 2 is by work. Okay, everywhere, like, I was rated in the performance. I was told by the management or the people who, and because I was directly dealing with the board, okay, or directly with the CEO or CFO. Okay, so they will tell me that, the number one tendency that they really appreciate is for someone to step up and buy work. Okay, they will say that when you go to a management and say that these are the 3 options, okay, and I will take up and execute this, that is something that is really, really appreciated. It can make you immediately visible to the management. Okay, because you are buying work, you are solving, you're taking it over, you are owning something from them. Okay, that is not something that is easily found in organizations, because people will be, this is my job, this is what I'm supposed to do, and this is what I deliver at the end of the day. If you step up and buy work and say that these are the options and this is something that I can execute, that is what will be really appreciated. So Harshal, like, to answer your questions, you can, when you are looking at or working with entities or companies as in-house counsel, you have to dig really deep about them and find out what is the kind of business they are doing, what are the kind of objectives that they really want to achieve. Okay, and then you can look at actually reaching out to them and saying that, I read that this is what you are engaging into, and this is something that I can really help you with. Sometimes when you own up and buy these kinds of tasks, an organization will create a role for you, because you recognize the problem where it was getting stuck, and you bought it and you owned it and you said you can solve it. So they will create, if they don't have, they will create a position for you if you are in this zone or if you have reached out to people like that. But for this, you have to be really, really prepared. You have to dig really deep into what they're up to. Okay, so that is something that which really needs to be deployed, and you have to be in that kind of mindset, okay, in order to be able to recognize what kind of sales. So point number 3 then is to diversify your knowledge, particularly when you're looking to land a role as an in-house counsel, and if you're looking to gain appreciation as an in-house counsel. Diversify a lot. Okay, there are some things which are a pain in the neck for any management on earth, any management. Okay, like tax. Anywhere you go, from a startup level right up to huge entity, tax is something that's a pain for any management. Okay, so there are some pain points which you can identify. There are you look at different sectors the company is engaged in. There will be something that something or some particular thing that they really want to take care of and guard close and keep it to their chest. For example, where companies are in a sector of technology or pharma, IP is a real issue for them. You can think of how do they manage their IP, how do they work with that. So when you find those areas, okay, and you diversify your knowledge, because you may be somewhere in contract drafting, civil litigation, criminal litigation, or all the generalized sorts of things that are there on earth. If you diversify your knowledge and get an idea of what exactly is happening, and I'll tell you, there are some areas which lawyers will conveniently ignore. For example, finance. Okay. Now you have to maintain, if you're an in-house counsel, you have to maintain a close relationship with the head of finance. Okay. So there are some things you have to be aware of and you have to keep tab of as far as the financial statements of and the functioning of the company is concerned. Right? How are they getting investment? You will be involved there, and you have to work closely with finance. They are acquiring something, you're doing due diligence, you're closely working with finance on both legal and financial due diligence. It's not like segregated, and when you are an in-house counsel, these things become very mixed up and malleable. So you will need a multitude of diversity of skills if you really want to understand how that organization is moving or how things are going. Okay, so that is your step 3. Diversify your skills. Okay, you have to get an idea of what are the things that are important to this organization and diversify your skills accordingly, so that you can actually get an understanding of what are the things that are really important to the management, where you are getting into also and where you are inside an organization also. Because looking at the sector of it, you will come to know what are the things where you will need to deliver as an in-house counsel. It's a really multitude of skills. Okay, as someone who's practicing, I can say that I provide drafting services. That's it. I'm not a litigator. I don't go and represent before the courts. Okay, or I'm a litigator and I do not provide advisory and drafting services. Like I can segregate myself like that. As an in-house counsel, you cannot. You know, so even if someone else appears on your behalf before the tribunals, you are supposed to keep a tab of what that person is doing. You can't just take that for granted. Okay, that is something that you need to understand and diversify and gain knowledge of as an in-house counsel. So that's step 3. You have to diversify your skills. Okay, step 4 is very connected with what I just mentioned, keeping a tab of how the consultants are working through the organization. Okay, because what will happen often is that if you have not diversified your skills, you will find consultants who explain you something, and because you do not have a real understanding of that area, you take their word for it. Okay, and this is a huge pitfall, because you didn't bother to reach out into and gain an understanding of that. Whatever they tell you is fine, because they are working and they are known and they are a huge law firm who is functioning and who is supposed to take the responsibility of. Please, I've seen I have myself experienced really huge law firms not being up to the mark in the functioning. Okay, because for them you are only one of the clients. Okay, so the importance that they attach to you, I mean, you may be in their 80% kind of group where you are, you are not giving them that much of a fees as someone else who's a very larger organization is giving. So they will attach that much importance to you. So you can't expect that someone is just a huge organization, that means that whatever they say and do is perfect, has to be perfect for my company. It may be perfect in general for the huge clients that they represent, who who give them, a huge amount of fees, but you may be a drop in the ocean for them, and they may not be paying as much attention to you as you would pay to yourself. So you have to be really really hands on involved in how consultants and how, like, how organizations serve you. And again, I can share a personal experience in that we were being served by one of the really known known organizations, okay, for compliance across the globe in different things. We discovered that, the person who was working in that space before me, like, they were working through a checklist of compliances, and that checklist of things to be done was going on from month to month, just like that, with 15 or 20 things to be done this month, to be done that month, going on like that. And the consultant had no problems at all, because they still had, their job was that they said this is to be done, and the person inside didn't act on it, right? So, like, you can't expect that, because you've delegated work to a really known organization, that means that you relax and all. No, you have to be very hands-on involved about what they are doing. Okay, and are they really delivering up to their potential or not? Okay, so that is one thing that will really gain you. And I gained a lot of strength in a area, in a time 2009, which was like, the subprime recession, and Europe was badly hit by that. I actually gained an increase in my salary at that particular point of time, where people were losing their jobs, facing pay cuts, having job freezes. I actually gained an increment, okay, because of this trait, that I was managing consultants very very tightly. I knew where they were, I knew what stage of work they were doing, I knew what needed to be acted upon from my side, and there was never delay. So these are the kinds of things that, as an in-house person, you really take care of. Manage consultants really really tightly, like, and don't expect that because it's a big name, you can just rest assured and they will do and take over everything. Okay, so that is something that, you can take up or you can gain as an in-house counsel with step 4. Step 5 is, again, get an understanding of everything from the scratch. Okay, so let's believe or let's understand. And I have again done this, okay, because I have gone through an IPO. This is an interesting thing that I want to share. I have gone through an IPO, and it's necessary, like, as at that point of time, you used to have physical share certificates even for public companies. So you actually had to have, the share certificate numbers, and then you had to display that these certificates are locked in for a period of 1 year, okay, from when the IPO is issued. Okay, so when the company comes out with an IPO, so you actually had to come out. And I remember actually having a peon take a torch and go with me into the dungeon, into the, like, the basements of the company, to find out their slips of the unused share certificate books and everything. So you get really dig into things, makes things into scratch, go into the details, find out things which are really really deep, and find things, get things in order from that level. If you're not digging things into the into deep, if you're not aware, first of all, of how things are done from the scratch, and this is very likely, particularly if you have transitioned from a huge law firm into an in-house counsel role, because you were handled one part of the whole transaction, and you are aware of that, and you are not aware of where the transaction started from, and where it is going to end. You're not aware of the A to Z. You are aware of, let's say, D, E, F, somewhere in the middle, because that's something that you handled very well. So that is not, that doesn't work in an in-house counsel role. You have to be aware of from whole A to Z of how the transaction progresses and from scratch how it works. When you are aware of it like that, you may not execute that by yourself. Okay, you may have consultants, you may have people supporting you, you may have, like, staff who's working all of that, but you have to be aware of the entire transaction of how it works. So that is something, understand from scratch how transactions work. Okay, so these are some things that are some skills that are very, very essential. When you are aware of this, chances are that you will be very, very well recognized on how things work out. And I have seen really ideal uh, in-house counsels who are aware of the depth of how things work. Okay, I've seen people who I have seen in-house counsels who know, like, कि यहाँ पे नहीं, यहाँ पे जाके लाइन में खड़े होना है. It's that much, like they are sitting in an air conditioned office, they are drawing crazy amount of salary, but they are very well aware of the scratch that you have to go to this place to get this work done. Okay, so there are people like that who are really exceptional in terms of knowing things from the scratch on how things actually work out. And when they are at that level, they are able to manage any kind of projects, like small or big, because they are aware of really the beginning of the transaction from A to Z. Okay, so that is something that is very important to be aware of, that you must aware of the transactions right from the scratch. So I'll just quickly repeat the things that we discussed. The first thing is obviously get known with the objectives of the management. Where do they need to go? What are the goals that they need to achieve as an organization? Understand where they want to land by the use of that law. Don't just give them the law, give them a solutions, give them 2 3 different options on how they can land at that particular place. Okay, as if you are an entrant to it, again get very involved in digging deep about the objectives of the organization, how it is they are functioning, uh, what are the mechanisms that they deploy to achieve these objectives. And this is something that you can be doing as an alternative, and I am willing to come and own up and take that. Okay, I can take this project up. So that is number 2, which takes you to, like, giving the options. Buy work. Okay, take work from them. When you are inside the organizations also, never say that this isn't my job. So always step up and buy work. Okay, when you buy work, you always progress through the organizations. Step 3 is diversify your skills, where we were saying that you can't sit with, like, saying that I don't understand accounts, I don't understand finance, I don't understand tax, I don't understand IP, okay, or I don't understand civil and criminal litigation, so I don't know what the lawyers are doing before the courts in the legal proceedings that the company has. You cannot say that. You have to diversify your knowledge in all of, or a multitude of different spheres, in order to be able to deliver for them. Okay, and then we said step 4 is to manage consultants tightly. Okay, and keep a tab of how things are working with each of the consultants. Where there are consultants who are really delivering, obviously, like, you actually give them more work or something, but you will be very easily able to find out who is and who is not delivering. And you can't afford to say that, because this is X is a big name who is handling our case, we can rest in ease by that. And then the fifth, the last part about it is know things from scratch. You have to go from it, know absolutely the A to Z of the entire transaction or entire work that you are handling. It's not like, you know something in the middle and don't know the beginning or the end of it. You have to be very well aware of where things started and what is the intended destination where it's supposed to end. Okay, so these are some things that we had a discussion of, right? And these are because we understand this. Okay, because we understand that these are the traits that are required if you want to get into the role of in-house counsels, or if you really want to score great with your management. this is why we have developed, the diploma in business laws for in-house counsels, where we have customized it, each stage, each piece of it, we are customizing such in such a manner so that it suits someone who's looking to actually fulfill the role of an in-house counsel, right? So that is something where we built this with that specific objective, that if someone is looking to gain the role of an in-house counsel, or if they are looking to actually cross or increase their steps in the corporate, climb their steps in the corporate ladder, then these are the skills that are very, very essential, and they need to understand these specific skills. So if you look at, like, the diversity that is there in that course, it is one of our courses which is like uh, a melange of different kind of laws. You have IP, you have tax, you have litigation management. Okay, how do you manage litigation for your company? It's not like you're going to stand and appear before each of the transactions, but how do you manage that for the company? Okay, it has employment or labor related aspects. It has aspects which deal with how arbitration or other matters are conducted. How do you get FDI? Okay, so these all these melange of things or tools or arms that can be necessary for an in-house counsel, we have like combined and put together. And Venkat like is going through that. And if he's here or if he's left, he may be able to like say what is the comprehensiveness of that specific course. So that's just to discuss on the 5 steps. So if you are looking at diversifying the skills, A, and B, if you're looking to get from the scratch an idea of how things are performed, then this is where you need to go. But your digging of the management, your buying work, these are all attitude shifts that you need to take care of. And like when you are in the zone with uh, let's say let's say 10 to 12 different people who are all like in the same zone, okay, they all want to score it that way. And once you get in the middle of that crowd, then you can start gaining that attitude also. And we have numerous instances of people who have changed completely because of this, that they were in the midst of the crowd. Like it's always said that you are the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. So if you spend a lot of time with these kind of people, that's how you will become. Okay, your attitude will change. And by themselves insights strike, where you know exactly what to do. So these are the few traits, as we discussed, which are necessary for in-house counsels. Particularly this is very close to me because I have been in in-house roles most of my life. I have been in in-house roles. For a very small part, I have been on the practicing side, but I have largely been in in-house roles. So this is something that we have kind of developed or focused on in this course. What I can do is I can share a link with you, and I can share my number. And if you're looking to have an understanding of how things work in this course, or how exactly, what are the traits, what are the additional traits, what are the things exactly that you want to do, if this is where you want to land up, we can definitely talk about it a little further. So I'll just give you a link of that course, and I will leave my number for you guys as well. We can chat later about how to progress on this. So I will just leave this here for everyone. So this is what the course is about. You can have a look at it. It's a melange of different laws or tools that help to arm someone with that specific knowledge. 2 things definitely it serves, which I mentioned, is that it will help you to diversify your knowledge, and it will help you to gain an understanding of things from scratch. Okay, and this is my number, which we can which you can reach out to in case you want to discuss about it, right? So guys, any questions that we have now? I can't see any questions on chat. Any other questions that we have? No. Okay, so guys, all the best to you, and wish you do land up as in-house counsels if you are already working as in-house counsels, I really want you to see at the top of where you can be in that organization. Thank you
Ma'am,
guys and have a
ma'am,
successful day.
ma'am, can I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
say
Mr.
something?
Mitchell. Yeah,
Can I
Mr.
just say something?
Yeah,
As I said, I'm doing the diploma in business laws,
yeah,
and I joined from February, effectively started from March.
yeah,
So it's just 3 months,
yeah,
but I'm a person with experience, as I have already mentioned.
yeah, yeah,
And any of the youngsters, lawyers who are studying or planning to get into in-house, they will do well, certainly, to take
yeah.
this course.
Thank
It's,
you so much, Mr. Michael.
yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Okay,
It's my
thank you so
sincere
much.
advice that if they are keen on it, they must take it and they get more than the money they invest.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. Okay. Okay, guys. So have a successful day. Bye bye, everyone. Bye bye, Mr. Venkat. Thank you.